From WFRV TV, Local 5, serving Northeast Wisconsin, including Green Bay, Fox Cities, and the Lakeshore. This is Newsmaker Sunday.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us for Newsmaker Sunday. I'm Tom Zaleski. This morning, the abuse and sexual assault of children. While an uncomfortable subject, we address it here this morning, not simply to show how bad the problem is. We'll also talk about prevention and where victims can turn to for help and support. And to that end, we are joined this morning by two ladies who are on the front lines of dealing with abuse and prevention. Holly Fisher, to my immediate right, is the Director of Family Services of Northeast Wisconsin. Christy Sickle is the Program Manager and Forensic Interviewer for Willow Tree Cornerstone Child Advocacy Center. Ladies, to both of you, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Thanks so much for being here. Before we get into the nuts and bolts and facts and figures of the issue that we're talking about today, a little background on both of your organization. You know, what do you do? Who are you? What's your mission? Let me start with you.
Well, we are from Family Services of Northeast Wisconsin. We're one of the largest nonprofits in the area, and our mission is to protect, heal, and care. And so we have over 30 programs, but April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month and Child Abuse Prevention Month. So today we're here to represent the programs of the Sexual Assault Center and Willow Tree Cornerstone Child Advocacy Center.
All right, Christy, Willow Tree, tell us about that.
Yeah, Willow Tree opened its doors in January of 2011. Okay. We provide a home-like, child-friendly environment as well as a neutral location to assist with an active child abuse investigation, while at the same time we provide supportive services to the child and their family to help them move forward from the abuse the child endured. We do this by providing specific services to assist with the investigation as well as specific services to help the child move forward.
And for both of you, how did you get where you are today? How did you get to the top of Family Services?
Well, when I was in college, I interned and volunteered at Golden House, the domestic violence agency. Sure. Yes, and was a psychology major and then got my master's degree in counseling. I don't practice now, but my heart is really with victim advocacy and supporting victims and making our community safer.
So Christy, what was your path?
Well, I went to school for social work and was kind of like, what kind of social work do I want to emphasize in? And then I just kind of fell into the realm of child welfare. I began my career as an initial assessment social worker, assisting law enforcement with conducting investigations of child abuse and neglect. Then I wanted to get my master's degree, continuing to emphasize in child welfare, and then got into the field of forensic interviewing, and really helped me understand the importance of providing a child with a developmentally sensitive interview to help them relay their experience in a way that is sensitive to their needs as well as conducive to an investigation.
And Christy, your organization, as you said, has been around since 2011.
Yes.
Family Services, you've been here forever. When did you start?
Well, Family Services as an agency started in 1899, so I haven't been there the whole time. But the Sexual Assault Center started in 1974. So this year we are celebrating our 50th anniversary.
All right, let us show the impact. First, I'm going to start with Willow Tree, some numbers that we have. You served 5,000 children and their families since you opened up in 2011. 44% of the kids you serve are brought in because of sexual abuse allegations. In 2022, 450 kids received a forensic interview. 62% of the children served live in Brown County, and there are approximately 5,000 reports of child abuse in Brown County every year. Top of the show, we mentioned this being April Child Abuse Prevention and Sexual Assault Awareness Month. What is the significance of that to both of you?
So it's a month to highlight the work we do every day of the year. We are actively supporting victims, aiding in investigations, conducting prevention education throughout the community to raise awareness on this issue and how people in our community can be supportive to victims and help protect children.
Yeah, and it really recognizes the importance of families and communities working together to prevent a child from experiencing abuse and neglect in their lives.
Child sexual assault, how prevalent is it in our community? Is it on the rise? Are we seeing it diminish? Where are we?
I would say child sexual abuse has been a problem, and it will continue to be a problem. It is, since Willow Tree opened its doors in 2011, it has always been the most seen allegation at Willow Tree. More than half of our referrals from 2023 were allegations of sexual assault to a child.
Okay, we're talking on the one hand, child sexual assault, pretty self-explanatory. The child abuse, what does that entail? What is that abuse comprised of?
Child abuse could be physical abuse, where a child has marks, bruising, injuries to their body. It could be neglect as well, whether that's supervisory neglect, neglect where a child is being exposed to drugs in their home, emotional neglect, as well as sexual abuse as well.
The cases seem to grow every year. The need for you folks grows every year. Do you have any ideas out there, any theories? Why is this happening? Why are we doing this to our kids? When I say we, it's whoever's doing it out there. You know, is the economy, stresses, pressures, what?
I would like to think that a parent or any individual wouldn't want to intentionally hurt a child. I do feel that there can be struggles with individuals, especially those that are facing stressors in their life, whether that is lack of support, untreated mental illness, substance abuse. Those stressors then can turn into other factors or taking out stress on children as well.
And oftentimes we see generational patterns where there has been abuse within the family unit and it hasn't been disclosed and addressed and healed from, so then those patterns can repeat generation after generation.
We have much more to come with Willow Tree and Family Services right after this, so please stay right there. Back now with Holly Fisher of Family Services and Christy Sickle of Willow Tree. At the beginning of the show, we showed you some numbers for Willow Tree. We're going to turn now to some Family Services numbers and the impact that Family Services have. Let's go to the graphic. An encouraging statistic here. 98% of the people in crisis who have used your service report a safe resolution. Almost 7,000 home visits, which is a key component for reducing the risk of child abuse. Almost 1,500 survivors had an advocate get them through the medical, legal, and healing process. And 75% of therapy clients showed improvement in mental health symptoms. Holly, Christy and Willow Tree, they're dealing mainly with sexual assault. What other issues are you dealing with beyond sexual assault? What's Family Services into?
So Family Services, we are interested in supporting individuals to create healthy and thriving communities. So we offer a continuum of services from early intervention to crisis intervention to ongoing support. So the Crisis Center is another program within Family Services. We also have outpatient counseling, which is longer term counseling. We also have like day treatment and residential programs for longer term care. So we're really looking at where is an individual at in their life, what type of support do they need, and how can we best meet that need through our programs and services that we offer.
And without giving details that you don't want to divulge, how closely do you work with law enforcement?
It depends on the program, but we do work very closely with them. In terms of adult sexual assault survivors, it is their choice whether or not they would like to report the crime to law enforcement. With child sexual abuse cases, it's a different story because there's mandated reporting elements involved.
What percent of abused people, abused children, what percent know their abuser or the perpetrator?
90% of individuals who commit acts of sexual abuse to children are known to the child.
What was that percent?
90%.
90%. 9 out of 10 of people who are abused know the abuser.
Yes.
And taking that even further, 60% are within the family, within the child's family.
Oh my goodness. All right, take me to the process here. How does an abused or an assaulted child find his or her way into your system? Is it, does it begin with a police call, an arrest, an investigation? A teacher says something, a family member says something. How does the process start?
Well, the process starts usually with a disclosure of sexual abuse made by a child. And depending on who the child made that report to, a mandated reporter or a caregiver, that report then can go to a Child Protective Services agency as well as law enforcement. For a child to receive a child forensic interview at Willow Tree, there needs to be an active child abuse investigation. So the referral for the interview will have to come from law enforcement because there's already something has already happened, meaning that the child has already made a disclosure or an outcry.
Mm-hmm. For adults and or kids, why in the main do victims not come forward?
There are plenty of reasons
Yeah.
victims choose not to come forward. As discussed previously, since many victims know their perpetrator, oftentimes there's relational connection. So they may feel pressure from other family members not to come forward. They feel they won't be believed. They feel that they will be responsible for the breakup of the family. So there's a lot of fear and shame and guilt.
Was this worse during COVID when we were all cooped up together and you couldn't get out?
Well, it's always an issue, but it was interesting because kids weren't in school.
Right.
A lot of times teachers and counselors are the ones who are making these reports.
Right, so the kids were separated from the teachers and counselors who would otherwise notice something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I would say that the kids that were coming to Willow Tree during the pandemic, they found a way to seek help. They found a way to reach a safe and appropriate adult who then contacted the appropriate authorities.
All right, we have much more to come with all the programs and treatments, so please stay right there. And welcome back. We are with Holly Fisher of Family Services and Christy Sickle of Willow Tree on the topic of child abuse prevention and sexual assault awareness. Christy, you describe Willow Tree as a safe place to talk and begin to heal. A child gets referred to you and goes through a forensic interview, and that's your specialty, right?
Yes.
Forensic interview.
Yes, it is.
What is that? What's a forensic?
What is a forensic interview? A forensic interview is a developmentally sensitive, legally sound means of gathering information from a child who has experienced abuse, neglect, or exposure to violence. So the interview is conducted by a neutral professional. So I'm not law enforcement, I'm not Child Protective Services. I'm just there to gather that information from the child to assist with the investigation.
How did you learn that? That's good. You've got to
How
be
did I learn that?
You've got to be so careful. It's so sensitive.
Yes, we're trained to use non-leading, non-suggestive questioning to gather the most accurate depiction from the child regarding their experience. We have them talk in a narrative description of what they experienced from the beginning to the middle to the end, and then eliciting more information from the child regarding what they're telling the interviewer.
Okay. You have advocacy services. What are they?
Any child who comes to Willow Tree and there's an allegation of sexual abuse, we partner with the Sexual Assault Center of Family Services to provide on-site advocacy to the child and their caregiver to help them heal. So while the child is receiving a forensic interview, the interview is just the child and myself in the room, and our investigative team is observing the interview live from an adjacent room. While that is taking place, our advocate then is with the child, with the child's supportive caregiver, answering any questions they may have about the investigation and providing them with supportive resources to help them move forward. And an advocate can continue working with the family for as long as the family wants, and even can accompany them to court hearings as well on their behalf.
You do the forensic interview. Is that tough to leave at work?
I get that question quite a bit,
I mean, you're hearing things nobody hears.
I'm hearing things that a lot of people don't hear.
Right.
But a forensic interview is really that first step in a child's healing. Yeah. And during these interviews, it usually feels really, really good for the child to share a secret that sometimes they have kept for years. Mm-hmm. It's far more common for a child to delay their disclosure of sexual abuse than it is for them to immediately report. So I myself, along with the rest of the Willow Tree staff, takes a lot of pride knowing that we have helped that child share something that they've been maybe keeping for years.
Yeah. And what does the medical evaluation entail?
We're very fortunate to partner with Children's Wisconsin to provide on-site child maltreatment medical evaluation. Yes,
okay.
Yes. So a lot of times when children have been the victims of abuse, they need to see a medical provider to make sure that everything's okay with their body. Mm-hmm. So instead of a child having to go to a different location and explain to the medical provider why they are being seen, after the interview, the child can simply walk down our hallway to see our child maltreatment nurse practitioner. Our medical providers will see children who have been the victims of acute and non-acute sexual abuse. We will do evaluations for children who have been exposed to drugs in their home, as well as physical abuse, and we also conduct foster care evaluations as well.
And then you have therapy.
Yes.
What does that entail?
Our therapists at Willow Tree, they will see children from ages 4 to 17 who have experienced trauma in their life. So after that initial investigation, the child has received their forensic interview, their medical evaluation. The child and their family are now connected to an advocate. That child can continue to come to Willow Tree to see one of our therapists to start the healing process. So really the model behind a child advocacy center is that a child doesn't have to go to a bunch of places or have to talk to a bunch of people to get the help that they need. They can get the help from the start of the investigation all the way through their healing process right at Willow Tree.
All right, Willow Tree just had a pretty cool event this week.
We did.
Pinwheel event, and Local 5 was there. We were there with our news. Tell us, what is the significance of the pinwheels?
The pinwheel is the national symbol for child abuse prevention. The pinwheel represents what we want for every child, a safe, carefree childhood free from abuse and neglect. On Monday, we planted 103 pinwheels to represent each child who has received a forensic interview or a medical evaluation thus far in 2024.
And Holly, at Family Services, you're dealing with mental and behavioral health. You also do home visitation.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we have a whole children's division that focuses on early intervention, birth to 3, early Head Start, so we can go into the home, provide support to parents, identify resources that they may need access to, so that we're helping prevent maybe some of these abuse issues that we see manifest in other ways.
We are back to wrap up in just a moment, so please stay right there. Back now with Family Services and Willow Tree, treating and preventing child sexual assault and child abuse. So how does the community support what you're doing?
Well, I would say the biggest thing is to believe victims. Sexual assault is one of the most underreported crimes, and unfortunately we do exist in a very victim-blaming society. Mm-hmm. So I would also encourage people to be mindful of the way they respond to any sexual abuse disclosure of victims, because we all know someone who has been impacted by sexual violence, and even if they don't tell you directly, they're watching how you react to allegations. So be supportive, respect the choices they make and how they heal from this trauma. And get them connected to advocacy services. Advocacy services are 100% free and confidential.
In other words, don't dismiss it.
Mm-hmm. Don't dismiss it, and if a child is making a disclosure of sexual abuse, This may be hard at times, but it's always important to stay calm, supportive, and reassure the child that you're here to help them and that you believe them. As Holly stated, you know, reacting in an adverse way or negatively, that may trigger the child not to disclose again in the future because they don't want to upset the original person that they disclosed to.
So what do we say to the person who's watching out there right now who thinks they could use your services, but they're afraid to come forward, either because of the stigma or out of fear of their abuser?
Well, they can call the Sexual Assault Center 24/7. They can remain anonymous, but they can talk to a trained advocate about what they're currently experiencing, and we can offer services and support.
Okay, and what do you folks need in your respective organization? I mean, you know, money, material goods, what do you have to have?
Yes, to
Yes.
all of the above.
All of the above, yes.
We rely on grant funding and community donations to provide these services. So any monetary support is extremely helpful to our programs.
All right. Holly, Christy, thank you both so very much for being
Thank
with
you.
us this
Thank you for
morning.
having us.
Much appreciated. And if you have a newsmaker in your town who you think we should have on this program, let us know about it. Send us an email to tips@wearegreenbay.com, or you can message us on Facebook. And be sure to join us once again Sunday morning at 7:30. Until then, have a great day.